If you're self-employed, you need to fill out a self-assessment tax return, and the amount of tax you owe is then worked out according to the figures you enter. You can either do this by filling in a paper form, or you can do it online, in which case all the calculations are done automatically for you. At the same time, you also need to think about national insurance payments too, all of which is explained in another video. But when do you have to get all this done by? Well, the tax year ends on the 5th of April. Then, if you choose to fill in the paper form, you need to get it in by the following 31st of October, which gives you almost 7 months. But be warned, if it arrives later than this, you'll be charged a penalty. On the other hand, if you do it online, you'll have until the 31st of January to complete it, which gives you an extra 3 months. David Vickery sends us this report.
When Flash Bristow was made redundant in 2004, she decided to set up in business for herself, designing all kinds of websites for charities and small businesses.
I decided I had to start my own business because my disability meant that it was harder and harder for me to commute to the centre of London. So I tried to think what my skills were, and I realised that, to be honest, my best skills were going to be website design, specialising in access, because that was something that I'd worked on with my technical background.
Working from home, she specialises in making the online experience accessible to people with all kinds of disability. So she really appreciates the value of online self-assessment.
I like the fact that I can do it all at my computer. I appreciate the fact that you can save it and come back to it. You don't have to have everything ready all at once, as long as it's all done before the deadline when you have to submit it. And I like the fact that it calculates the tax for you. In fact, that's probably the most important part for me, because I don't have to get my calculator out and think, is this bit relevant? How does that balance against this? It does it all for me and just says, here's the sum you have to pay, sorted. By doing your tax return online, it means that if you're due a repayment, it will show you that straight away. And also doing it online, you're at an advantage, because the online returns are processed much more quickly than the paper returns. So if you're due a repayment, you'll get it more quickly. Luckily, my dad's an accountant. So I went to him and asked him, and he explained it. And from then on, I've known what to do, and it's been a lot more straightforward. Once you've got the first one done, the rest are easy.
If you're not lucky enough to have an accountant in the family like Flash, you might decide to hire one to help you. Either way, to help you fill in your tax return online, you can use this step-by-step guide. Remember though, even when you hire an accountant or tax advisor to help out, it's still your responsibility to make sure that everything is done accurately and on time. Now, back to the studio.
When you complete a self-assessment tax return, you get a statement of account, which shows how much you owe and how to pay any tax due. Not only this, it also shows you how much you paid previously and any money Revenue and Customs has repaid to you. And if you use the online service, you can log on at any time and review your latest statement. If you set up as a partnership, which is also classed as self-employed, then each partner has to fill out their own self-assessment tax return, as well as a partnership supplementary page. And one of you, the nominated partner, has to complete a partnership return, which shows each partner's share of the profits or losses. Do remember, however, that although the nominated partner is responsible for filling in this return, all the partners are liable to be charged a penalty if it's late in. It's really important to stay on top of your tax payments. So, depending on your circumstances, Revenue and Customs may ask you to make payments on account after your first year in business. These are estimates of what your tax bill will be at the end of the following year based on the previous year's tax return. The way this usually works is you make 2 separate payments at 6-month intervals, one on the 31st of January, the other on the 31st of July. You still fill in the self-assessment tax return, but the payments you've made on account will be deducted from the final tax bill, which makes the whole process easier to plan for. If you expect to earn a lot more or a lot less than the previous year, and you don't agree with Revenue and Customs' estimated payment amounts, you can ask them to be changed by either filling in a form online or contacting the self-assessment helpline. And don't forget, if you do get stuck filling in your return, there's always plenty of advice and help available to ensure you get it right the first time.